Good evening. This is CTV News for Monday, April 2nd. I'm Rochelle Metzger. Thanks for joining us. The past 72 hours have been challenging. Those are the words from Prince George's County Police Chief Mark McGaugh after a weekend of violence in the county. There were 7 shootings that left 5 people dead. Denise Douglas has more on the crimes and what police plan to do.
This past weekend was an exception.
It was a bloody weekend in the county, leading police today to reassure the public.
Investigators have concluded that none of these incidents are connected and none involved random victims.
On Friday, 17-year-old Brandon Wiggins was killed here along Bright Seat Road in what police say was a drug-related shootout. Then early Saturday morning, Lester Quintanilla was shot down in what appears to be a robbery attempt as he left the Galaxy nightclub in Hyattsville, where he was denied entry. Quintanilla was a member of the MS-13 gang. Now there is concern about possible retaliation.
From our standpoint, as far as retaliation issues and that type of thing, we need to stay on top of that. So that's part of this case.
The violence continued Saturday evening with 2 domestic disputes. Police say Audria Blackwell killed her friend Ashley McClurkin after a fight in a Suitland apartment before accidentally shooting herself in the leg. Then 83-year-old Dorothy Ogden died at the hands of her granddaughter Kristalina Warner in their Accokeek home. On Sunday, a 5th shooting in Forestville, but police are looking into whether it was a justifiable homicide. 21-year-old David Shaw, they say, killed after trying to rob his friends,
prompting another male robbery victim to jump him in an effort to wrestle the gun away. The gun was eventually taken from Shaw during the struggle, and the now armed robbery victim shoots and kills Shaw.
In addition to all of that, there was also a shooting here on Northwest Drive in Hyattsville. There was also one on Afton Street in Temple Hills. No one was hurt in either incident. Despite the violent weekend, police say that homicides are down. They've seen 17 compared with 26 this same time last year. And they're sending a message out to criminals that they're about to launch a summer initiative focused on getting them off the streets. I'm Denise Douglas, CTV News.
The Anti-Crime Summer Initiative will be announced in May. Police are still looking for suspects in 3 of the cases. Tomorrow, April 3rd, is primary election day. Maryland voters will cast their ballots for a number of congressional races, the Republican presidential race, and local Board of Education seats. There are several Democratic contests to watch as State Senator C. Anthony Muse looks to unseat senior U.S. Senator Ben Cardin. And in Maryland's 6th Congressional District, the battle between State Senate Majority Leader Robert Garagiola and financier John Delaney looks like it could go down to the wire. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, and to find out your polling location, you can log on to elections.state.md.us. Tonight we continue our special education series, Children Come First, closing the achievement gap in Prince George's County. In Part 9, reporter Gina Barty takes a look back to when schools were still segregated and Black parents were fighting for equality.
It was just off the heels of the civil rights movement, and battles over new federal laws were impacting communities all around the nation. Schools and the equality of education were key areas of reform. In 1973, the Prince George's County School Board found itself in the midst of one of those battles.
It was a time where the landscape of the county was very different. Schools remained segregated in what was a predominantly white working-class community. The disparities in resources for Black students were very apparent, prompting a group of Black parents to take action.
We looked at some of the differences in schools, in Black schools and white schools, and Black students and white students, and we found there were significant differences in the physical building, in the achievement of students, and that gave us the ammunition to do something. And of course, that's something because they failed to do in discussions with them, they failed to do anything on their own. Choice was to file suits, as many other states and municipalities and throughout the country had done.
Their fight was about equal access. They wanted equal access to materials, better school buildings, and an opportunity for their children to not only excel academically, but socially as well.
Fairmont High School did not have was the first school in the county to have the 12th grade, although Douglas was still there. But the student had to come from Accokeek, and that's over 20 miles one way. So that meant that a teacher had to stay after school late for the second bus, and there was discrimination there. And plus the fact that even though the school was segregated, when we looked at the band, we had a raggedy uniform, but we came in #1 for state awards. Athletics, we were like #1. We didn't have the uniform. And we felt that if we could do this well with segregated situation, the school had a water fountain low enough for elementary school kids. The language lab didn't have a language lab, we had a tape recorder. And we felt that perhaps, if we had all the facilities and all the teaching initiatives that were given to the white kids, we would do twice as well.
So how do you think this affected the achievement gap with black students and white students back in 1971 that really pushed for you guys to file this suit with the school board?
Well, obviously, if the kinds of things that would be, the differences in the schools obviously had to be gaps. And I can't tell you about what was happening in white homes or white neighborhoods with white kids because I didn't know them. We just, and sometimes thought that our kids were really doing well. I know that my daughter was an A student in the junior high school, and the following year after desegregation, she was no longer an A student. She became like a C student. And now, something's wrong there, where when we thought we were doing all right, we found out we were not doing all right when schools were desegregated because something then was missing. And this, of course, was after, but I learned that. We had these physical differences in schools. My kids weren't in high school, but I know the school John was teaching at, they had, well, it was mud walks around the building. That's something wrong with that. They had the water fountains outside, and they had the engine for automobile mechanics, and they had a 1948 engine or something like that, and this is in the 70s. The windows were broken out in my school and just stayed like that for a long time, and we knew that. So there had to be a difference in the achievement gap.
Shortly after their suit was won, the school system was forced to implement a countywide busing desegregation plan, and the direct result, some say, was white flight. The county slowly transformed into what is now an affluent majority African-American community.
With the shift in the demographics here in Prince George's County, why do you feel that there still is such a big achievement gap amongst black students here in the county with other students and other students in our surrounding jurisdictions?
Might be because if you're being forced to do something because of race, you have a responsibility to look at is there a difference, to look at why it's happening. I'm not so sure that we spend that effort, same effort, looking at our schools now, because superintendents may be black, the principals may be black, majority of school board members may be black, and we're not just paying that kind of attention. So it could be a wake up when we realize, they who have children realize that there is this difference in achievement, that there's this gap.
Some would say that blacks don't value education as much as whites, as much as white parents. You go into some of our surrounding jurisdictions and you go to a Montgomery County PTA meeting and the gymnasium is full. You go to a Prince George's County PTA meeting and you might have 15 parents. What do you say about that in terms of parent involvement, and how important do you think parent involvement is with the achievement of our students here in Prince George's County?
I think that's true. I have been attending several meetings in several communities, And one of the problems I see with SCLC, Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which I'm vice president, is that we find not enough parents attending these meetings, going to the school, as happened when we were segregated. And not only did you have the parents concerned, but you had the teachers who would act like parents at the school. So you had a double control, double concern.
It is not totally the responsibility of teachers or the educators to determine what's done in the schools. And it had been in the past, in both white and black schools at the time. And we have to give credit to white parents in our schools during desegregation of making sure that schools did what they should be doing. PTAs, as both of you mentioned, were occupied by white parents who demanded, even after the schools were desegregated, and their kids were still there, they demanded the best. We ain't got that now.
And join us tomorrow when we take an in-depth look at some of the issues affecting Latino children in the county.